Good afternoon, everyone. Today we're going to start our discussion on panel data regression. You have the notes which I provided for you. You can copy it in your RMD file so that you can just follow along with me here. So first, let's discuss what a panel data is. It's very important for us to understand what a panel data is because many of the data, financial data or economic data, is in panel data form. So uh, let's start first with the method, panel data regression. Okay. So panel data regression is data analysis that's done on longitudinal data or panel data. So panel data is also called longitudinal data, or it's also called cross-sectional time series data. So you notice that it's a combination of cross-sectional data and time series data. We learned before that for cross-sectional data, you have several individuals, several units, okay, uh, taken at one point in time. Okay, so for example, you're looking at the GNP, GDP. Let's. I'm sorry, I lost my. I can't see my digital pens. I have to use my mouse. Okay, so let's see ASEAN 5, for example, Philippines, Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand, okay, Malaysia, 6 na lang, Indonesia, what else? Vietnam, okay? Philippines, Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam. So this is the ASEAN 6. And we're looking at GNP, GDP, employment rate, other macroeconomic variables taken in 2023. Okay, 2023. So that kind of a data class is called a cross-sectional data. And you know why? Because you have several units, Philippines, Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam, taken at one point in time. Okay, so that's cross-sectional data. Cross-sectional refers to the different individuals or units. In this case, the units is country-centric. On the other hand, we learned that time series data takes a look only at one individual unit, one unit. For example, you have here Philippines, and let's take a look at the same variables, GDP, GNP, taken from let's say 1970 up to year 2023. All right. So this now is a time series data. Time series data because we have only one unit, Philippines, one individual, but you're taking a look at it from from a time series point of view, 1970 until 2023. This is a time series data. And then the combination of cross-sectional and time series is what we call panel data. So a panel data will look like this. So for example, we're studying let's say, the effects of inflation on the stock returns of the stock index of the 6 countries. So you have, let's say, from 2010, you have the 6 countries, Philippines, Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam. All of them have values 2010. And then next, 2011, the same, the 6 countries. Okay. And then next, 2012, same, 6 countries, until 2023. Until 23, and then again the same, Philippines, Singapore, Indonesia, etc. All right. So this type of data is called a panel data. It's a combination of cross-sectional, so you have several units, and then time series data, several time components. Okay. And panel data is more robust than either the time series data or cross-sectional data. Now, there are 2 types of panel data. You can have a balanced panel data, balanced or unbalanced panel data. What's the difference between them? The example that I provided you just now, is an example of a balanced panel data. all the countries, all the units are present at all points in time. Philippines, Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam, present in 2010, 2011, 20, up until 2023. Okay? On the other hand, unbalanced means that there may be some individuals or units that are present in some years and may not be present in other years. So for example, let's say in 2015, we included, for example, Cambodia and Laos. Okay, so now there are 8 countries now. And then in 2023, we removed Indonesia and, let's say, Indonesia and Thailand. Okay, so that's an example of an unbalanced panel data because not all the individuals, not all the units are present in all the time periods. Okay? Is that clear, class? Could you kindly chat, please, if we're clear about it? So distinction between cross-sectional, time series, panel data, and balanced and unbalanced panel data. Clear? May I have your confirmation, please? Okay. All right. How about the others? I hope it's clear. Waiting for the others to respond. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. So just a quick discussion again, as we already mentioned. When you say panel data, it combines the elements of the cross-sectional and time series data. Okay? They contain information on multiple entities. That's the cross-sectional dimension and multiple time periods. That's a time series dimension. So panel data consists of both dimension cross-sectional, which means different individuals, and time series dimension, that means multiple time periods. All right. Now, what's the advantage of having panel data? Panel data is more robust to analysis than cross-sectional data or time series data. In panel data, you can do within entity analysis. Now, what's within entity? Well, an entity means the individual. So in our case a while ago, that could be Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, etc. So when we say within entity analysis, you're taking a look at let me use at the individual, at the unit. So for example, Philippines. If I want to understand more Philippines, okay, within entity, it means that I can look at the performance of the Philippines in 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015. Okay, so that's the within entity. So which means that there's this time series. It's like the component of the time series. Because in time series class, you remember, Philippines, you have 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, up to 2023. So you can take a look at the performance of the Philippines across all these time periods. That's the within entity. You're looking at the Philippines itself, and also Singapore, etc. On the other hand, we have between entity. When you say between entity, you're actually comparing the Philippines, for example, and Indonesia. Is there a difference between the performance of Philippines and in Indonesia in 2010? Okay, you can take a look at that. So that's between. Or how about 2011? Let's say, Philippines outperformed Indonesia in 2010. Did Philippines still outperform Indonesia in 2011? So that's what we mean by between entity. You're now comparing the variations between each of the individual units. So because of this, it offers us several advantages as compared to just purely cross-sectional or time series analysis. Okay, and what are the advantages of having panel data data as compared to either cross-sectional or time series? So these are the advantages. Number one, increase efficiency. So it's more efficient class. It's more efficient to have panel data because it provides more information compared to the other two types of data. So there are your parameter estimates will be more efficient, okay, and more precise statistical inference because of more data points, okay. All right, next, you can control for unobserved heterogeneity. Now this one, we're going to spend some time discussing this because this is very important. So we're going to understand, hopefully, I'm able to explain what's the meaning of unobserved heterogeneity. Okay, so here, I stated here, panel data models can control for unobserved heterogeneity, okay? Okay, so what does this mean? Unobserved heterogeneity. Why, compared to the other models, compared to the other data, cross-sectional and time series, you will have difficulty controlling for unobserved heterogeneity. What's this class? An example is, this is IE, no? It has an example of a unobserved heterogeneity is the characteristic of entities that do not vary over time, but may affect the outcome variable. All right, so take a look at this. These are characteristics or attributes of entities that do not vary over time, but may affect the outcome variable. Later on, I'll give an example of this. For instance, you're looking at the, in finance, you always, it's a popular topic to compare the performance of mutual funds. Okay, so you have mutual funds from different companies, okay? And then you'd like to compare their performances. All right, now what can be, what can affect the returns of mutual funds? Many factors. Many factors can affect the performance of a mutual fund. But there are factors that cannot be observed. For example, the talent of the fund manager. Some fund managers are able to beat the market and generate consistent returns. On the other hand, some fund managers are not able to. They're always below the market. Okay, so magkaiba, no? There's a difference between the skill, okay, of the fund managers. However, the skill of a fund manager is difficult to observe. So you cannot put that as a factor. You cannot put that as an independent variable. So because of this, because the returns of a mutual fund can be driven by the skill set of the fund manager, then we will have what we call unobserved heterogeneity. Okay, because this skill, the talent of the fund manager can impact the returns of the mutual fund. Eh kaso wala. Wala dun sa mga variables na ginagamit natin. So, yun ang problema. That will result into unobserved heterogeneity. That will have unobserved heterogeneity. And when we have unobserved, I'll just call it UH, no? When we have UH, unobserved heterogeneity, then we might have inconsistent parameters, inconsistent results, and biased results. Yun ang problema, class. If you have bias or inconsistent results, then hindi na trustworthy, hindi na pwedeng pagkatiwalaan yung ano natin, yung model natin. Okay, we cannot depend on it anymore. Okay? However, if you're using a panel data, okay, pwedeng makontrol yun, yung unobserved heterogeneity. It's possible that by including, by doing something so that this will be overturned, no? Mawawala ito kasi may gagawin tayo. No? For example, pwede tayong mag-include ng entity-specific fixed effects or random effects in the regression model. So later on, we will go back to this, the concept of fixed effects or random effects, two of the most popular methods used in panel data regression. Okay, so having panel data, we will be able to control for this unobserved heterogeneity, either by using fixed effects or random effects, which we're going to discuss later. And then we have dynamic analysis. Okay, ano ibig sabihin ng dynamic analysis? Dynamic means you can take a look at the impact of the variables on your dependent variable across time frames, no? Across different time periods. Okay, so parang ano to, parang parang ito yung this can be done in time series, no? Time series component. Pero ito hindi, no? You cannot do this in time series. Okay, so there are some things that you cannot do in a time series or cross-sectional data. Yung dynamic analysis, you cannot do that for a cross-sectional data. You know why? Kasi isang time period lang yun, di ba? Nari, 2023 lang. So wala kang dynamic analysis doon kasi hindi mo nakikita yung impact yung comparison ng impact ng 2022, 2023, etc. Okay? And there's also this, you can also do causality. No? Yan ang kagandahan ng ano, mas powerful ang panel data class in coming up with causality inference. Okay, so we'll explain this more in greater detail. So to summarize class, sabi natin ang unexplained heterogeneity or unobserved heterogeneity, okay, refers to variation in the independent variable that is not explained or is not accounted for by the observed variables. Okay, yung mga ginagamit natin na independent variable in order to try to explain our dependent variable cannot account for that. Okay? Now, this is very critical. Parang ano to yung sa mga residuals natin, no? Bakit siya critical? Kasi pag may unexplained heterogeneity class, as I said class, pwedeng yung results natin biased and inconsistent estimates. Okay? So kapag biased siya at saka inconsistent, then we really cannot use the results of the model. Okay? So sabi nga dito class, it leads to potential biases. Okay? So therefore, identifying and appropriately addressing this UH is essential. Importante siya. So that we have a reliable and more accurate results of our regression. Okay, clear tayo so far class? Paki-ano nga, baka I might keep on talking here tas hindi nyo na pala ako naintindihan. May I have your confirmation class if it's clear so far? Okay, thank you. How about the others? May question ba so far? Alright, good. Actually class, mas madali itong ano yung finals nyo, itong panel data regression kaysa dun sa Arima Garch. But I'll expect a thorough discussion kasi parang regression lang to eh. Nagkakaroon lang tayo ng iba't ibang methods, no? But the different methods are very easy to do. Magpapalit lang tayo doon ng method eh. Alright. So, saan nangyayari? Bakit class nag-a-arise tong UH natin, yung unexplained or unobserved heteroskedasticity class? Why? Sorry. Na-residual. Heterogeneity. Okay? My bad. Not heteroskedasticity. Heterogeneity. So, saan nanggagaling ang class? It happens class because, okay, ito, cross-sectional component and time component. Okay? Kasi class, unlike later on, i-discuss natin Pullman, saan sa panel data, you have the, let's say, the individual across several time frames. Okay? Now, possible na yung ano yan, yung country, kunyari Philippines, okay? Possible na meron tayong time invariant. So may may kakaiba siya, no? Between no, not in time invariant. So these factors can vary across observations. So for example, iba yung sa Philippines, sa Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand, Philippines, Malaysia. Okay, there are differences. So if you do not account for that class, kung hindi natin titingnan yun yung heterogeneity among the different individuals, then we will not be able to explain it, no? Yung itong UH natin, unobserved or unexplained heterogeneity. So kailangan natin makontrol yun. Para maging robust yung model natin, kailangan natin ma-take into account yung differences nila. And not only differences among the individuals, but also differences among the different time periods. Pareho ba yung effect ng say ng GNP on the returns of the stock market, stock index in the Philippines in 2020 as compared to 2021? Pareho lang ba? Kasi kung pareho lang, then we don't need this. Hindi natin, walang ano yan, walang unexplained heterogeneity. But chances are magkaiba yan. Okay? So merong unexplained heterogeneity. Okay? So coming from two components, the differences in the individuals and the differences in time. All right, so let's have this example. May binigay ko mga sample lang dyan, class. So you're looking at, for example, it's a study of how does training impact productivity in an individual. Okay, so you have the variable training, no? So you can have it as binary. So kung umattend ng training, 1. Kung hindi umattend, 0. Okay? And the outcome variable is yung change in productivity levels of the employees. So we're taking a look at how training affects productivity. Okay, kaso class, hindi naman lahat nakaka-capture ng training lang. There are some factors intrinsic in the individual, no? O mahirap din ma-measure yun, like motivation. Don't you think, class, paki-yes or no nga, may kinalaman ba yung motivation ng individual? Does it have a bearing on the performance, on the productivity ng individual? What do you think? What do you think, class? Sa tingin nyo, do you think that motivation has a bearing on the productivity of the individual? Class? Paki-chat, please. Hello? Eh, ba't ang tagal ng response nyo? All right. So I agree with you, class. Motivation has a bearing also on the productivity of the individual. Kaso, if there's no factor, if there's no variable that measures motivation or even the skill set, no? Ito mas madali pa to yung skill level. Kasi pwedeng ma-rate yan. Pero yung motivation, medyo mahirap, no? Unless you use what we call a Likert scale. I-survey nyo, tapos tingnan nyo yung motivation ng individual. No? Nowadays, mas kaya nang gawin. No? Can use a Likert scale, survey each of the employee, and measure the employee on his motivation. So, I'm talking of this case where intrinsic motivation is not observed, is not measured. Okay, so in that case, class, this becomes an unexplained heterogeneity. If motivation has a bearing on the productivity, then, and if this is not included in our model, then magkakaroon tayo ng unexplained heterogeneity. Okay, ganun din yung skill set, class. Okay? Fortunately, class, kapag panel data, ma-address yan. That can be addressed. So what happens, class, if there's unexplained heterogeneity? Wala tayong variable na motivation or skill set, what will be the impact if intrinsically motivated employees are both or more likely to participate in the training and likely to be productive irrespective of training class, the estimated effect of training on productivity might be overstated. Okay? So kung wala yung impact ng motivation, panay training lang, no? Baka maging overstated. So pag ganyan class, pag overstated yung ano natin, bias na yan and inconsistent na yan. So we cannot anymore trust the results of our regression model. Okay? Kasi ang nakaka-capture lang dun sa effect ng ano ng productivity is just the training. Hindi na included yung intrinsic motivation. Okay, hindi siya kasama dun sa not accounted for in the model. So, there are several ways to address this. Okay? For example, pag yung mga unobserved factors na to are constant over time and then they vary across individuals, okay? So, kunyari, yung motivation. We can assume that motivation, just like grit, for example, no? It may be considered as constant over time for our purposes. Of course, you can argue that hindi ang motivation is a function of the environment, or ang motivation man nagbabago-bago yan. Here, the motivation used here is an intrinsic component na regardless of what the condition is, ganun yung motivation ng taong yan. Okay? Come hell, come high water, ganun pa rin siya. So that's the motivation we're dealing with here. Okay, parang grit siya, no? No matter what the circumstances, tenacious pa rin yung taong yan. Okay, however, this varies across individuals. So si individual 1, iba yung ano niya, iba yung motivation niya. Motivation level niya kaysa kay individual 2. Okay? So this varies across individuals, however, they may be constant over time. So pag ganyan class, kapag yung factor na yan, yung unobserved factor na yan, if it's time invariant, okay, yun ang ibig sabihin ng time invariant class ito, no? Hindi siya nagbabago over time invariant, and if it varies across individuals, okay, then we can use a model called fixed effects model. Okay, so again, just to put myself ahead here, kapag yung factor, kapag yung unobserved heterogeneity caused by factors that may be constant over time, ibig sabihin hindi siya nagbabago over time, and that may be different for individuals, then that's a clear sign that it would be best to use the fixed effects model here. Okay, so at least alam natin kung ano yung fixed effects. Mamaya titingnan ulit natin yan, tapos tingnan natin yung random effects. Okay, for example class, assuming gender was not included in the model, and you're looking at the hourly wage, parang yung ano natin, yung model natin, yung unang pinag-aralan natin. Hourly wage yung dependent variable natin, and then hindi kasama yung gender. Okay, now not putting the gender can have what we call yung yung UH natin. Okay? Unobserved heterogeneity. Although dapat observed yun eh. Pero not including in class, strictly speaking, not including it will result to that. No? Bakit? Kasi yung gender, assuming na na male-female lang. No? Kasi ngayon, may mga nagsasabi na nagbabago yung gender. Though personally, I don't believe in that. No? Let's just stick it to biology. Kung ano yung gender mo pagkaanak mo. No? So either male or female. All right. So assuming that's the definition of gender here, then what happens now? Gender does not vary over time, diba? And gender differs across the individuals, right? So in this case, if it's not included in the model, then magkakaroon ng unexplained heterogeneity. All right? So that's just an example. Okay, so let's have another case. Ito case 2 naman, no? Ito, ang tinitingnan natin, education naman. So this is just like the first regression model that we had on hourly wage then, no? On income levels. Okay, effect of education. Now, If we look at the effect of education on different income levels, pero pag hindi natin tinignan yung other factors like ability, innate ability ng tao or family background. Diba? Kasi yung innate ability, how will you measure that? Unless, although sa psychology, may mga metrics na ngayon, ano? Kaya nga ngayon yung finance and social sciences, kanya behavioral finance, parang nagme-merge na sila eh. In the sense that there are some tools that's used in psychology, in the social sciences, that can already be used in finance. So mas nagiging robust na yung mga modeling sa finance due to the contribution of other social sciences like psychology. No? So yung innate ability na may measure niyan sa ano eh, they just use latent variable. So meron silang tinatawag na Likert scale, may mga factors sila. They call it indicators. Tapos na may measure yung ano yung innate ability. Okay. Assuming na hindi ito nasama yung innate ability or even the family background. Ang problema, itong innate ability, nakaka-affect din ng income level yan or ng education. Okay? So if these factors are not measured and not included in the model, the estimated effect of education income might be overstated or understated. Okay? So yun ang problem. That's the direct effect of having unobserved, okay, heterogeneity. All right, punta tayo sa finance, which I mentioned a while ago already. How about the mutual funds over time? So you're studying, for example, you're looking at the returns of various mutual funds over multiple years. So iba't ibang mutual funds, iba't ibang years, panel data yan. So pwede ba magkaroon ng unexplained heterogeneity dyan? Yes. Okay. In what context? There are several factors that may not be included in the regression model. No? Ito yung sinabi ko kanina, fund manager skill. So marami pang ibang factors, no, which I stated here. For example, some fund managers, sabi ko nga kanina, they are very consistent in outperforming the market. Ang gagaling. Ang galing nila sa stock selection, ang galing nila sa sa market timing. So abilidad talaga. While others naman, ano lang, so-so lang, no? They are consistently underperformed. Now, unless there's a variable that measures the skill of the fund manager, magkakaroon tayo ng ng unexplained heterogeneity. Why, class? Because we can assume that the skill of the fund manager is constant over time. Hindi nagbabago. Okay, sabihin natin mga mga fund managers na experienced na. So, yung skill set nila, hindi na magbabago yan. Kung meron man, very minimal na lang siguro. Or siguro may mga new strategies na lang. So that will fall under strategies, not necessarily the skill set of the fund manager. So it may be considered as constant over time. Okay? And it's different across the fund managers. So perfect na perfect yan na pwedeng fixed effect model ang gagamitin dyan. Okay? So I mentioned here some other factors like investment strategies, risk preferences, fund size. If these factors are not included, class, in the in the model, then magkakaroon tayo ng unexplained or unobserved heterogeneity. All right? All right, then how do we now, class? How do we now control this UH natin? Okay, so these are some techniques. So first you have the fixed effects model, which I mentioned a while ago. You have the random effects model. You have pooled model. You have first difference. You have GMMs. Okay? So madidiscuss lang natin dito yung first four. Yung GMMs hindi natin madidiscuss. But there are other methods, no? Pero ang pinaka-popular itong first four. All right. So magkakaiba sila, no? They differ in their assumptions. They differ about how they come up with the correlation. Okay? So we'll take a look at them one by one. So ang first na titingnan natin, class, yung pinakamadali. Yung medyo, I'm sure popular na sa inyo to, no? Yung pooled OLS. Okay, so how does it work? Okay, balikan natin, class, yung example natin kanina. yung ASEAN, diba? So Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam. Okay, so you have data 2010. So lahat sila may 2010 data. Let's say whatever variable that is. Okay, kunyari yung returns ng stock exchange sila. So meron din ulit tayo ng Philippines, etc. for 2011. Okay, up to 2023. No? Up to 2023 yan. Okay. So this one, 6 countries by ilang periods to? 2010, 2010, 2023. So that's 14. So 14 times 6. So 84 observations yan. There are 84 observations. 2010 to 2024, 6 countries, 84 observations. Now, what happens when you have pooled? So, pag pooled class, anong nangyayari dyan? You are negating this class. Tinatanggal natin yung cross-sectional component, tsaka tinatanggal natin time series component. So let me clarify that. Ang ibig sabihin nito class, hindi na natin to i-consider as a panel data. So what do you have now? You have 84 observations na ng first row is observation 1, 2, 3, 4, hanggang 84 na siya. Okay? So nawawala na yung uniqueness ng Philippines kasi si Philippines 1, tapos pang 7 ulit siya, 7. Hindi na natin i-regard yun. We will just disregard that. So hindi natin makikita dito yung yung within entity at saka yung between entity. Kasi tatanggalin natin yung cross-sectional component at saka yung time series component. So in other words, this will just become like a mare-regress natin to using multiple linear regression. OLS lang. Ordinary least squares. Yung cross-sectional unit natin naging 1 siya, 2, 3, 4. Ito na yon, no? Nawala na yung unique. Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand. Alright. Pakichat nga, class, kung naiintindihan yung concept na yun, please. Let me pause for a while. Kung naiintindihan yung pooling. Do you understand what pooling means, class? Can you chat, please? If you understood that concept of pool, ipo-pool natin pagsasama-sama natin. Tanggalin natin yung cross-sectional component, yung different individuals, wala na yan. Tanggalin natin time series component, wala na yan. Okay, so anong nangyari? You have 84 different observations as if they're all unique. Magkakaiba sila. And as if it's coming from one point in time lang. Okay, waiting for the others to respond, class. Nakuha ba yung ibig sabihin ng pooled na yan, class? About the others? Hello, class, hello. Waiting for your response. All right, so that's what happens with the pooled OLS. So, ang ginagawa natin dito, we combine the cross-sectional and time series information. In the example a while ago, we have 6 countries. Okay, taken across 14 periods from 2010 to 2023. Okay, so as we said, this will have 84 observations. Kasi 14 times 6. So sa pooled OLS class, nawawala yung distinction between countries. Nawawala na rin distinction between time. So tanggal yung mga yan, tanggal yung Philippines, tanggal yung time, no? So ang mangyayari dyan, just 1 up to 84. It's as if there 84 individual different observations. Okay? So what will now happen is that, ano na lang to? OLS lang to. Hindi na panel data to. Okay? So in panel data analysis, meron kasi tayong access sa cross-sectional at saka time series. So nawawala yung class. Pooling involves combining these 2 dimensions of data. Nag-i-increase ang efficiency class, no? Pwede mag-increase yung efficiency. Kaso, may payoff to. Ano yung payoff class? It does not account for individual specific effects or time trends. Wala na yun. So hindi na natin makikita yung within entity at saka between entity. So chances are it will give us unbiased, pwede magbigay sa atin ng unbiased estimates, no? Kung if class, if this is a big if. If. Ano nga, no? So malaking if yan, class. Okay magiging ano natin, unbiased yan kung walang unobserved heterogeneity or walang serial correlation in the data. But usually that does not happen, class. So it may yield inefficient estimates and biased standard errors. Okay? So that's the fault of that's the weakness of fixed effects. Kaya usually, class, among the choices, hindi nagiging successful sa pool. Okay, ano naman tong fixed effects, class? Ito, I already described this. Meron tayong unobserved heterogeneity na time invariant. So hindi siya nagbabago over time, ha? Okay, like yung kanina, yung motivation, okay? Yung skill set ng that can be construed as fixed over time. Okay? So what will happen in the fixed effects model? We will allow each of the units to have their own separate intercept. Yan, ito yung concept ng fixed effects class. Okay, so si Philippines, when we have the model class, for example, yung returns ng stock index, si Philippines magkakaroon siya ng sarili niyang intercept, si Indonesia, etc. So each of these will now have their own individual intercepts. Okay, so this will remove now yung mga effect ng unobserved factors that do not change over time for each unit. Okay, so this addresses yung unobserved heterogeneity natin. Okay, just like our example a while ago, yung fund manager class, no? Yung skill or talent. Since it's different across individuals and it's constant over time, then fixed effect will be able to address yung issue na to. Okay? Okay, so there are some other discussions here, class, na binigay ko, examples pa ng we're running out of time, class. So random effects, class, I would that you I hope you read this, no? Hindi ko na rin na-discuss sa kabilang klase, but just an introduction. Ito naman, class, unobserved factors that vary randomly across entities but are assumed to be uncorrelated with the independent variable. Okay? So ito yung difference ni random effects. Okay? Unobserved din siya, and it also vary randomly lang across entities, and they are uncorrelated with the independent variables. Okay? So below here, okay, example class sa finance, no? Suppose stock returns din. Okay? So may mga observable factors tayo para malaman natin yung stock returns, no? Yung firm size, leverage, yung level ng debt, profitability, industry sector. Okay? These are observable variables. However, there may be unobserved factors specific to each firm. So random yun sa bawat firm that may affect stock returns. Kunyari, quality ng management. Okay, this may be difficult to measure. Okay, although sabi ko nga kanina, with the advent of modern research methods, pwede na tayong gumamit ng metric para malaman yung management quality. But traditionally, ang hirap maano nito. Ang hirap ma-measure nito. So, kapag hindi siya kasama sa regression class, unobserved heterogeneity yung pwede nitong i-cause. Kasi nga, management quality may have an impact on firm performance of the stock, di ba? Right? Isa pa, brand reputation. Although ngayon may mga metrics ng brand reputation. Okay, pero pag hindi kasama yan sa model, do you think, class, na nakaka-affect yung quality ng management at saka yung brand reputation sa sa profitability ng ng stocks ng company? Yes or no, please? Hello, yes or no, please? Uh, so to continue our discussion, class, let's run this. So this contains the package names, Tidyverse, Stargazer, Margaret, R Haven, and PLM. PLM is the star of the show. It's panel linear model. And this function tells us that look for these packages. And if it's not in the packages, then do not require it, do not load it, do not library it. You install it first. Then after installing, that's the time you require. Okay. So after that class, what we're going to do now is we're going to use the data that I shared with you, the job training data. Okay, so we're using the read underscore CSV, and then we view this. Okay, so I hope you were able to get it. So there are 30 columns. So maraming columns, no? 30 columns, and then you have 471 observations. So if you take a look at our data, it contains a year component and a firm code. So this is the code of the firm. Okay, so take a look at 1987, 88, 89. Then all of firm 410032 is present. Okay, so most probably this is a balanced panel data. Okay, so 471 divided by 3, let me check. Yeah, it's divisible. What's this? Four 71 divided by 3. 157. So that means that there are 157, 3 refer to the companies. There are 157 time periods, no? And 157 divided by 3. So around 53 years. No, so 53 years. Anyway. No. 3 years. So there are 157 companies. Tama ba? 3 years. Yeah, 157 companies. All right. So now if we take a look at our data, very quickly class, tingnan natin to, JTrain, job training, training data. The variable of interest is the log of scrap. So we'd like to see how training affects the scrap, the productivity of the individual, of the firm, no? Firm code kasi ito. All right. But however, you can see that there are some NAs here. Ibig sabihin, some companies did not have that data. So we will have to remove that, no? Like this one, 410521 for 3 years did not have any data. Okay, so what we're going to do now is to delete those NAs. Okay, so we're going to use this, Control C. Let me chat this. All right, so you have here this strange operator here. This is what we call a compound pipe operator. It just means, I'll just describe this more in the continued recording because we're running out of time. Okay, it just means and then. Okay, so this means JTrain, using JTrain, and the regular symbol is like this. No? This is what we call the pipe operator. Okay, this is the regular symbol. Ngayon, ito may less than pang ganito, no? Ibig sabihin on class, you still maintain the name JTrain. Okay? Parang pinagsama siya na pipe operator and assignment operator. Yan. So you combine these two, okay, and then you get this. This is what we call the compound pipe operator. So what does this mean? You create this object JTrain, okay, still JTrain, and then you filter. So what will happen if we filter? Filter is used to select rows. Okay, so ang sabi dito, exclamation point is NA. Ibig sabihin yun, wag yung NA. Okay, so from the JTrain dataset, you filter L-scrap, but do not include yung mga NA. Okay, yan class exclamation point, not NA. So sige, run this class. I'm going to run this, and I now have a JTrain that's new. So sa JTrain ko class, yung L-scrap ko, lahat wala nang missing values. There. No more missing values using the filter function. And then it now contains 162 observations. So kanina 471, ngayon 162. Ano ba to? Nasa terminal pala ako. So sa console na 162, okay, 162 divided by 3. So there are now 54 companies here. 54 companies na may presence ng L-scrap. Okay, pause for a while. Any questions so far? Can you please chat if we're clear so far? Okay, thank you, Carlos. Thank you. About the others class? Kindly please. Okay, good. Thank you. Appreciate the feedback. All right. So this time class, I'll once again share this with you. And so let's see how far we can go. Okay. All right. Okay, we have this again, no? Percent, less than, greater than percent. Once again, this means that you're going to use JTrain and then create this object JTrain, which, what are we going to do? A while ago, we used filter class. Yung filter, we remove the rows. Pag select naman, we choose the columns. So here, we're saying that we select F code, year, L scrap, total hours, D88, D89, grant, and grant 1. Okay, so this will create an object still called JTrain, which means it will overwrite the original JTrain, and then it will now only have the following variables. Okay, so let's run this. All right, so let's take a look at JTrain, and you can now see that ito na lang yung laman niya, no? So we have only 8 columns, 8 variables. You have the firm here, you have the year, you have the L scrap, you have the total hours, and then you have some other variables here. All right. So it's almost time class, but let me just extend a bit. No? If you need to go. All right. Take a look at this class. Ito. Sulat nyo nga to class. JTrain. Let's just maintain the JTrain. And then the shortcut is Control-Shift-M. Ito. Yan. And then structure. Can you tell me if you got the same symbol? So this is the pipe operator class. In your case, what appeared class? Control-Shift-M. Control plus Shift plus M. All right. What did you get, class? Control-Shift-M. Is it percent greater than percent, class? Kindly feedback, please, class. It's almost time. Oh yeah, sa Apple Command Shift M. Pero ang lumabas, thank you, Pauline. How about the others class? What appeared? Pauline shared her answer, sabi niya sa Mac, Command Shift M, okay? And then what appeared was percentage greater than percentage. How about the others class? Okay, good. So most of you, I believe, instead of this one, had ito lumabas, no? Percentage. Okay. It's the same class, no? Kaso ito yung luma, no? Kasi this was the old, ang tawag dyan class, pipe operator, di ba? Ano ibig sabihin ng pipe operator? You use JTrain and then get the structure. Ganun lang yun, no? What's good about this is that you can change several functions, several commands. Kasi this simply means and then. But the new one is this one, Control Shift M. So you can change it class to the new one. Go here to how to change class, go to tools. Go to tools and then saan na siya? Keyboard shortcuts dito. Or ito yata, modify keyboard shortcuts class. Modify keyboard shortcuts. Ay, hindi. Wait. Asan na siya? Tools and then ito pala, keyboard shortcuts, Alt Shift K. Ay, sorry kalimutan ko yata yun. Tools and then, asan na siya? Global options muna. Global options. And then, okay. Global options and then class dito sa general. No? Take a look at this. Here. Asan na yun? Oh, wala. In the code. Ito class, no? Ito. Global options and then code class. Ito, code. And then here you can see, naka-uncheck yan sa inyo dito. No? Ngayon, in-update na nila. Ang native pipe operator is now this. / greater than. So, i-click nyo to class. Click nyo. Okay. Click that and then apply. Okay. And then, itry nyo ulit class. Yung Control Shift M. And you'll notice that bago na. Ito na. No? Ito na yung bago kasi mas madali siyang isulat kaysa dun sa percentage greater than percentage. All right, so we have already the new JTrain. And then this simply means, if I get the structure, ayan, di ba? Parang structure than JTrain din. So we're just, I'm just telling you, yung pipe operator, okay? Yung head, alam nyo na. JTrain and then Stargazer, here. It will now give us a hindi kita. Nawala din. May mali yata ako dito sa ano. Okay, yung head, okay. Okay, anyway class, ano ko na lang to kasi may mali yata ako dito sa ano, sa text. All right, it's already time. Okay, so just to give you class. Okay, last na to class, no? Last na to. And then I'll just record the remaining part, Control C, and share this with you. Chat. Yeah, Adi, yes, sure. Okay, so what's happening here? Take a look at this class. So JTrain, let's check the number of observations. I-group by natin yung firm, no? So what will happen is i-group niya yung mga firms and then isa-summarize niya kung ilan. So summarize n is equal to n means that you count kung ilan yung grouping by firm. Tapos ito naman grouping by year. So let's try this first, the first one. para alam natin data natin. So take a look at this, di ba? So yan sabi niya, si code 41523, tatlo siya, 5138, tatlo. Yan. So binilang niya class, no? Binilang niya per, and there are, sabi dito, 54 rows. Yan. So that means there are 54 firms, di ba? 54 firms ang meron, tapos tatlong beses siya nag-a-appear. 3 times. Kasi ngayon, 1988, 1988, 7, 88, 89. Okay, and the same thing for group by, i-group na by year, so lalabas dito yung mga years. No? Right, so you can see here, tatlong years, di ba? Tatlong years, 1987. Ilan daw yung 1987? 54. So, ano sila? Match sila ng isa, no? 54 companies for 1987, 54 companies for 1988, 54 companies for 1989. All right, so sige, I'll stop there, class. And ito na yung panel data modeling class. Okay? So this, and then you will have to test kung ano kasi. Ang kagandahan, class, hindi tayo manghuhula kung fixed effects ba o random effects ba o pooled effects. We have Hausman test, no? Bruce Pagan test para malaman natin kung anong model. Ang kagandahan nito, class, madali lang siya kasi babaguhin lang natin to. Take a look at this. For example, ito. Ito lang binabago dyan. So to test and get the output for pooling, yan, model is equal to pooling. Ganun lang din yung iba. No? Babaguhin lang natin fixed effects, random effects. All right? So yeah, thank you so much, class, for your patience. I'll